The Dominion Council chamber was carved into obsidian stone, its vaulted ceiling alive with flickering light from bioluminescent veins running across the walls. Alien warlords sat in semicircular rows, armored scales glistening. At the center stood Overlord Zarkul, his tall reptilian frame wrapped in ceremonial plates of black steel. His voice cut through the air like a blade. "Humans spread too quickly," he growled. "Their colonies on Mars, their industry on Titan, their stubborn refusal to submit, these are sparks of rebellion waiting to ignite. We must extinguish them now." Several counselors laughed, deep hissing sounds echoing through the chamber. One leaned forward, mandibles clicking. "They are primitives. They burn their own atmosphere and crawl into space in metal coffins. Hardly a threat to the Dominion." Zarkul's yellow eyes narrowed. "You mock them, but I have studied them. They are unpredictable. Where others bend, they resist. Where others yield, they endure. If left unchecked, they will rise." The chamber fell quiet. His clawed hand struck the table, claws leaving shallow grooves. "Eliminate their symbol. Strike the head, and the body will collapse. Kill Colonel Arya Vance before she becomes a legend." The order passed without further debate. Somewhere in the cold void, Dominion assassins prepared for their mission. The Nevada desert baked under relentless sun, its barren expanse broken only by the distant hum of military vehicles. Inside Forward Base Erebus, Colonel Arya Vance wiped grit from her visor and scanned the training yard. Troops sprinted across obstacle courses, exocets clanking with each step. "Again!" she shouted, her voice crisp over calms. "Real enemies won't wait while you catch your breath." At 36, Arya had lived most of her life in uniform. She had piloted fighters in the Pacific Wars, led special operations against insurgents, and now commanded Earth's most advanced defense regiment. Her soldiers respected her not because of rank but because she trained harder than any of them, demanded excellence, and never asked for what she wouldn't do herself. A lieutenant jogged up, sweat pouring down his neck. "Sensors picked up something odd, Colonel. Brief spike in orbit, then gone. Could be a glitch." Arya frowned. Nothing about orbital glitches felt right. "Pull the logs. Scrub every frequency. If it moved, I want to know how fast and from where." She was about to continue the drill when alarms wailed. A red glow flooded the base. Automated turrets rotated toward the sky. Moments later, the desert horizon shimmered as figures phased into view, sleek silhouettes wrapped in refractive cloaks. "Contact!" someone yelled. Arya's rifle was in her hands before the word finished. She fired in controlled bursts, bullets sparking against alien armor. The attackers moved unnaturally fast, blades of molten plasma extending from their gauntlets. Soldiers fell in seconds, their armor sliced open like paper. "Form on me!" Arya barked. She led her squad behind a barricade, returning fire. The aliens advanced methodically, their formation precise, their intent clear. They weren't here to conquer, but to kill. A plasma bolt struck the sand inches from her face. Heat seared her cheek. She gritted her teeth and pulled a grenade from her belt, rolling it across the ground. It detonated with a crack, an electromagnetic pulse frying two assassins' cloaks. For the first time, her troops saw them fully, tall, scaled warriors with obsidian armor and pupilless eyes. "Now!" she ordered. Bullets and rockets tore into exposed bodies. One alien collapsed, ichor staining the sand. The rest pressed harder. Inside the command bunker, Arya slammed her palm against the console, rerouting defense drones. "Patch me into their frequency," she demanded. A tech sergeant hesitated, then nodded, fingers flying. The alien's encrypted chatter crackled through, distorted but decipherable. "Target designated. Eliminate Colonel Vance." Her jaw tightened. So that was their game. She sprinted back into the yard. Smoke filled the air, screams blending with the roar of gunfire. An alien commander stepped forward, a head taller than the rest, twin plasma blades hissing. Soldiers near him faltered, fear in their eyes. Arya stood her ground. "You want me?" she shouted. "Come take me!" The commander charged. Plasma blades cut arcs through the air. Arya ducked, rolling aside as heat scorched her armor. She grabbed a length of cabling from a destroyed drone, activating its magnetic coil. The field disrupted the alien's shield for a split second, long enough for her to fire 3 rounds into his chest. The alien staggered, snarled, and lunged again. She met him with a combat knife, slamming it under his jaw where armor thinned. The blade punched deep. With a final roar, he collapsed at her feet. The remaining assassins hesitated, momentarily shaken. Her troops exploited the pause, gunfire cutting them down. 2 survivors were tackled, disarmed, and restrained. Silence settled over the base, broken only by groans of the wounded and the distant crackle of flames. Arya's chest heaved, sweat mixing with blood on her face. She stared at the alien commander's corpse. They hadn't come to destroy Earth. They hadn't come to claim resources. They had come to kill her. She tapped her comm. "Command, this is Vance. Strike team neutralized. They were after me specifically." She paused, eyes narrowing. "Tell the world, the Dominion just declared war." News of the assault spread within hours. Across every major city, people watched grainy footage of alien assassins striking at Earth's heart. Governments bickered briefly, but the debate ended when the truth became undeniable. An advanced empire had targeted one human being, believing it would break humanity's will. Instead, it ignited fury. At a hastily assembled summit, leaders signed a unified declaration, pledging total defense of Earth and its colonies. Arya stood before them, armor scorched, eyes unyielding. Cameras streamed her words across every screen on the planet. "They thought killing me would end us. They thought humanity would cower. They were wrong. If they come for one of us, they come for all of us." The chamber erupted in applause, fists pounding tables. For the first time in centuries, Earth was united under a single banner. Far above, in the Dominion flagship's darkened bridge, Overlord Zarkul stared at the report. His assassins had failed. Worse, the human lived, and now she carried the weight of a planet's fury. "She will be the spark," one of his advisors hissed. Zarkul's claws dug into the armrest of his throne. "Then I will crush the flame before it becomes a fire. Gather the fleet. If one human can defy us, then let us remind their world what true power looks like." His eyes glowed as stars wheeled across the viewing screen. The hunt had only begun. The images of Nevada's burning sands spread across the world within hours. For once, headlines weren't filled with politics or disputes over resources. They screamed the same truth. Humanity had been targeted for elimination. The Dominion hadn't come for resources or conquest. They had come for Colonel Arya Vance. And they had failed. Across the globe, outrage became unity. Nations long at odds signed defense compacts in a matter of days. The Earth Confederation, once a fragile treaty, hardened into a singular command structure. Soldiers wore different flags on their sleeves, but they drilled under one banner now: survival. In the command center beneath Geneva, Arya stood before a bank of displays. Engineers and scientists crowded around captured alien weapons laid out on reinforced tables. Plasma rifles, cloaking devices, fragments of Dominion armor, each one a puzzle piece. Dr. Hideo Tanaka, lead of the Confederation Research Division, tapped the screen of a disassembled plasma emitter. His hands trembled with both fear and excitement. "Their technology is far beyond ours, but not beyond comprehension. We can adapt this into a prototype energy weapon. Crude, limited, but usable." "How long?" Arya asked. Tanaka swallowed. "Weeks. A month at most if we divert every facility to production." Arya crossed her arms. "Do it. If they come back, we won't meet them with rifles and grit alone." The first prototypes emerged within 3 weeks. The weapons were ugly, bulky rifles with jury-rigged cooling units, but they fired bolts of plasma that could cut through Dominion alloy. Defense drones were retrofitted with shielding nodes scavenged from alien cloaks. Even civilian satellites carried improvised railgun systems, ready to drop tungsten rods from orbit if the Dominion fleet approached. Still, Earth couldn't remain on defense. Waiting meant certain defeat. Arya pressed the council relentlessly. If we sit still, they'll choose the battlefield. We can't let them control the tempo. We strike first. The room fell silent. Prime Minister Ortega finally spoke. What are you proposing? Arya pulled up a hologram of the outer solar system. A Dominion listening post drifted near the Oort cloud, an outpost meant for surveillance and communications. We take it out. Show them Earth won't be hunted like prey. We'll use their own shuttle to get there. General Sloan scowled. A suicide mission. Arya's voice was steel. Not suicide. A message. 2 weeks later, the shuttle launched from an orbital platform. Its hull bore Dominion markings, but inside it was pure human ingenuity. Every panel rewired, every system altered. Arya stood in the cockpit, helmet in hand, eyes fixed on the stars. Behind her, 12 soldiers strapped into harnesses, their faces set in grim determination. Lieutenant Kieran Doyle, her second in command, leaned forward. First time we take the fight beyond our atmosphere. Feels different, doesn't it? Arya allowed herself a thin smile. Feels overdue. The shuttle coasted silently through the void, engines masked by stolen Dominion tech. Hours stretched into tense silence until the listening post came into view, a spire of black metal bristling with antennae, rotating slowly against the backdrop of stars. 4 Dominion corvettes circled it like wolves. Doyle cursed under his breath. 4 ships. Odds keep getting better. Stay focused, Arya said. We'll never have a clean fight. That's our strength. They don't expect us to fight dirty. The battle began the moment their cover cracked. Dominion sensors pierced the shuttle's false transponder, and alarms wailed across the enemy formation. Corvettes broke formation, plasma turrets charging. Now! Arya barked. The shuttle's belly doors dropped, releasing a swarm of drones loaded with repurposed mining charges. They slammed into corvette hulls, detonating in white-hot bursts. Shields flared, systems shorted, confusion rippled through the enemy ranks. The shuttle itself banked hard, dodging plasma fire. Inside, soldiers braced against brutal G-forces. Doyle manned the jury-rigged railgun, launching tungsten slugs that ripped gouges into a corvette's engines. Direct hit! He shouted. Arya kept her voice calm, precise. Target the station's relay tower. We cut their comms, they fight blind. 1 corvette swung wide, plasma cannons locking onto the shuttle. Arya seized manual controls, driving the shuttle into a reckless roll. Plasma bolts streaked past, one grazing the wing. Warning lights screamed, but she kept flying. Brace! She yelled. The shuttle dove under the station's shadow. Troopers leapt into zero gravity, magnetic boots clamping onto the station's hull. Explosives clung to the metal like barnacles. Within minutes, the spire glowed with detonations, antennae shattering into fragments. The Dominion surveillance post went dark. On comms, Doyle's voice crackled. 3 corvettes down. Last one pulling back. Arya exhaled slowly. Then we've made our point. Hours later, the shuttle limped back toward Earth, hull scorched, systems failing. Half the soldiers were injured, 2 never returned. But the listening post was gone, and Dominion forces had been humiliated. In Geneva, the Confederation Council listened as Arya delivered her report. She didn't embellish, didn't soften the cost. Yet her closing words carried the weight of victory. They wanted fear. Instead, they'll remember defiance. We may be small. We may be outnumbered. But we are not prey. The council chamber erupted in applause, but Arya only felt the weight of names carved into her memory, the ones lost in the void so Earth could breathe free another day. Far across the stars, in the Dominion flagship, Overlord Zarko received the news. His claws tightened around a data slate until it cracked. A listening post destroyed? 4 ships lost? His voice was venom. The advisor bowed low. The humans adapt faster than expected. Their commander. Silence! Zarko roared. They are insects. If insects sting, you burn the hive. He turned toward the viewing window, where fleets of warships assembled in orbit around his command world. Prepare the armada. If Earth wants war, then war they shall have. Back on Earth, Arya stood in the quiet of forward base Erebus, watching her soldiers train under the rising sun. Sweat glistened on their faces, determination etched into every movement. Doyle approached, bandage on his arm, smirk tugging at his lips. You realize we just painted a target the size of the moon on our backs, he said. Arya kept her gaze on the horizon. Good. Now they know exactly where to aim. She tightened her gloves, the desert wind whipping against her armor. The Dominion would come, with more ships than Earth had bullets. But humanity was no longer cowering. They had bled for survival, and they had struck back. Arya's voice was barely above a whisper, but every soldier nearby heard it. Then let them come. The sky above Earth glowed with artificial constellations, orbital cannons, defense satellites, and hastily constructed platforms circling like sentinels. Every telescope pointed outward, every radar sweeping deep space. Humanity waited. Colonel Arya Vance stood inside the Confederation's orbital command station, gaze fixed on the tactical display. Red markers spread across the outer rim of the solar system, multiplying each hour. The Dominion fleet had arrived. Count? She asked. Lieutenant Doyle adjusted the feed. 32 warships. 6 carriers. 3 dreadnoughts. Escorts beyond count. His voice stayed steady, but his jaw was tight. Against this, blue markers flickered, 6 orbital cannons, 2 squadrons of retrofitted shuttles, a swarm of drones, and Earth's handful of improvised rail platforms. General Sloan folded his arms. We can't win on numbers. Arya didn't flinch. We win by making them bleed until they choke on the taste. Hours later, alarms shrieked. The Dominion armada breached the Oort cloud, burning inward. Their formation gleamed like a tide of steel. Phase 1. Arya ordered. Across the Kuiper belt, dormant asteroids came alive. Nuclear mines hidden inside detonated, tearing through Dominion frigates. Debris fields scattered their formation, but the fleet pressed on, shields flaring. On the command deck, Arya watched the markers vanish one by one. Not enough, she muttered. Phase 2. Human strike craft launched from orbit. Old mining shuttles turned into bombers, their hulls stripped bare for speed. Pilots accelerated toward the Dominion vanguard. Doyle's voice filled comms, calm but resolute. Targets locked. For Earth. The squadron split into swarms, weaving through plasma fire. Explosions lit the void as shuttles slammed into corvettes, warheads primed. Each impact crippled enemy engines, leaving flaming wrecks adrift. Inside the command deck, cheers broke out, cut short as a Dominion carrier unleashed its full broadside. Plasma lances speared through 3 human ships in seconds. Arya gripped the console. Keep pressure on their flanks. Don't give them room to regroup. Then the dreadnoughts advanced. Each was the size of a city, bristling with turrets, their hulls layered in shimmering shields. One unleashed a beam that vaporized a defense platform instantly. Doyle's voice crackled. That's the big one. If it gets into orbit, cities burn. Arya leaned over the map. Options dwindled by the second. Then her eyes fixed on a convoy of nuclear shuttles circling near Mars. Last resort weapons. She opened comms. Squadron Delta, reroute. Intercept that dreadnought. Full payload. Silence, then a reply. Copy. We won't be coming back, Colonel. Arya's throat tightened. Make it count. Delta Squadron dove into the dreadnought's path. Shields flared as plasma shredded their formation. One by one, the shuttles disintegrated. Only a single craft broke through, engines burning out. Its pilot transmitted a final message, voice steady. Tell my family I kept my promise. The shuttle rammed straight into the dreadnought's reactor. A sun blossomed in the void. The explosion tore half the vessel apart, shockwaves rocking the entire fleet. In the command deck, stunned silence turned into roaring applause. Doyle exhaled. They did it. Arya forced herself to stay composed. Mark their sacrifice. We're not finished. But the Dominion kept coming. Carriers released waves of drones that swarmed Earth's orbital defenses. Railguns fired until barrels melted, satellites overloaded from heat. The command deck shook as fragments struck the station's hull. Sloane cursed. We can't hold much longer. Arya slammed a fist onto the console. We hold until we break them. She ordered orbital cannons to target engines, not hulls. Every disabled ship became debris, clogging Dominion formations. Civilian satellites armed with tungsten rods plummeted into destroyers, tearing them apart with kinetic fury. Slowly, impossibly, the tide shifted. The Dominion's perfect formation fractured. Ships drifted crippled, comms tangled, coordination failing. Inside his flagship, Overlord Zarkul snarled as reports streamed in. These primitives fight like animals. End this. His dreadnought pushed forward, cannons blazing. Plasma bolts slammed into Earth's station, rocking the deck. Sparks cascaded across consoles. Arya steadied herself, glaring at the burning marker of Zarkul's ship. Direct all fire, she commanded. If we cut the head, the body falls. Orbital cannons thundered. Drone swarms hurled themselves at the flagship. Shields buckled layer by layer. Doyle looked up from his station, sweat streaking his face. We might actually. A blast ripped through the command deck. Consoles exploded. Doyle stumbled, clutching a wound across his side. Arya rushed to him. Stay with me. He gave a weak grin. Don't let them win without me. He pressed a bloodied hand to hers, then pushed her away. Finish it. Rage burned through her. Arya seized the tactical controls, forcing every remaining weapon to focus on Zarkul's dreadnought. Human fighters rammed into its hull, detonating charges. Cannons fired until barrels cracked. Shields flared, cracked, and finally collapsed. The dreadnought's engines went critical. A chain of explosions ripped through its hull, tearing it in two. For the first time, Dominion ships began to retreat. The armada fractured, survivors fleeing into the dark. The war for Sol was over. Humanity stood bloodied, but unbroken. Hours later, Arya stood among the ruins of the command deck. Doyle's body lay covered, one of thousands who had given everything. Outside, Earth rotated in silence, its cities spared. She opened a secure channel, broadcasting across every frequency she knew the Dominion used. Her voice was clear, sharp as steel. You came to kill one human. You brought assassins, fleets, dreadnoughts. You failed. Next time, bring an army. Her words echoed into the void. Across the galaxy, species listening in hushed disbelief repeated them. The humans were no longer prey. They were predators. In a quiet moment afterward, Arya walked through the medical bays, pausing at each soldier's bed, offering words to the wounded. Some smiled through pain, others simply gripped her hand. She carried their strength with her as she stepped onto the viewing deck. Below, Earth glowed blue and white against the darkness, fragile yet defiant. She placed a hand on the glass, whispering to herself, to the fallen, to the future. They'll never break us. Far away, in the shadows of Dominion space, whispers spread. Empires that had dismissed Earth now reconsidered. A young species had stood against one of the galaxy's oldest powers, and endured. And somewhere in the void, Overlord Zarkul swore vengeance. But deep within his chest, for the first time in centuries, there was fear.